Well, this is the Pac-12's final go-round. The conference, it was built in 1915, started in the Pacific Northwest, moved down the coast, etc. I think it's the year of the quarterbacks. This is a phenomenal year of guys who have arrived on Pac-12 campuses and are going to play really well. USC's got the Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams. The kid is dynamic, probably going to be the first pick in the draft if he elects to come out. I think he will. He's got an unbelievably gifted big freshman, Zach Branch, who's his primary target, who had 232 all-purpose yards last weekend. They are strong and deep at running back. They dove into the transfer portal again. Trojans are good, except on defense. I cannot understand how Alex Grinch can continue to be the defensive coordinator on Lincoln Riley's team when you consider how horrible they were last year and how bad they've been when they were together at Oklahoma, and even prior to that, when Grinch was at Washington State. So they got the great quarterback. I don't think they have a great defense. I still think USC wins. UCLA, Chip Kelly, great history of developing, molding, and delivering quarterbacks. Life after Dorian Thompson Robinson begins. He was a 5-year starter for UCLA.
5, wow.
He grew into the position, dynamic last year. The kid is the backup quarterback to the Cleveland Browns now.
Nice.
He walked into camp and did well. But there is no DTR at quarterback. There is no power running back in Zach Charbonnet, 1,100 yards last season. He's gone. A little bit fascinating because they recruited maybe the quarterback of the year on the West Coast, Dante Moore. I thought he was going to get the job, but he's really raw. But they're going to go with a journeyman quarterback, at least to start. Though Chip Kelly has said Dante Moore, and there's a quarterback that transferred in from Kent State, they're going to rotate with Garbers, who will be the first game starter against Coastal Carolina. You know, Chip had really bad years. At one point, I think he was 13-25, and people were calling for his head.
Mm-hmm.
Myself included. And they went 17-8 the last 2 years because of DTR. So we'll see how fast Kelly can get Dante Moore up and running, because everybody I've spoken to around the conference thinks this kid is the next great one coming down the turnpike. Great one, Pacific Northwest. He does everything. Bo Nix turned down the chance to go to the NFL to come back and play for the Ducks again. He makes everything happen. Runs, throws, leads. He's not going to throw for 3,800 yards, but I'll tell you what, he's so efficient at getting the ball down the field and moving the pocket and running. Bo Nix is a really good player. He's going to compete for the Heisman Trophy too. He's at Oregon. The dark horse is going to be Michael Penix at Washington. Now, he's a transfer from Indiana. He walked in there last year, first year, with Kalen DeBoer as the new coach. And Michael Penix threw for 357 yards a game. Mm-hmm. And they just threw the hell out of the ball at Husky Stadium. He's back as a second-year starter, his final year at Washington, left-handed thrower, really dynamic kid. Other quarterbacks, Utah, although he's a little bit banged up, Cam Rising suffered a knee injury in the bowl game last year and seemed to have trouble during camp. I don't think he's going to play the first, maybe not even the second week for the Utes, but if healthy, he just wins. That's all he does. He doesn't impose on you physically. He's not 6'6" with a gun, but he makes things happen. Cam Rising, Utah. Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith has done a really good job flipping the Beavers and making them competitive. A lot of people think that they could win 10 games this season.
Wow. Now,
they went into the transfer portal, and this was a little bit different. They went and got a Clemson quarterback who opted out. Nobody leaves Clemson except this kid didn't play well for 2.5 years. And DJ Uiagalelei is the starting quarterback for one season at Oregon State, but under the tutelage of Jonathan Smith, who I think is a pretty impressive head coach, former Beaver quarterback, self-made guy. I think DJ is gonna keep Oregon State in a lot of games, run and throw. Lost in the conversation, this guy had a great statistical year last year, Jaden DeLora. He had transferred from Washington State to Arizona. He played really well as Arizona was trying to pick up the pieces of a program that had really been shattered. So he's back as a starter, second year in the rebuild there for Jed Frisch's team. I don't know what to make of Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham He's got transfers upon transfers. Are coming off a miserable 3-9 season, the firing of Herman Edwards. And then at Colorado, this is their farewell after 11 years in this conference. Deion's kid, Shadeur Sanders, starts. It's an absolutely stunning story. Colorado's got 86 new players on the roster. 86. There's only 10 scholarship players that are left that were there last year and older. They got 53 transfers through the portal of the 86 new kids. And Deion Sanders' son, Shadeur, who had a really great couple of years at Jackson State, is the starter as Colorado opens. And they're going to play at TCU in Fort Worth, first game of the season. So, like I say, this looks to me to be the year of the quarterback in the Pac-12. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be great. I mean, first of all, it's the last year of the Pac-12. It's kind of emotional, but you're right. There are a lot of really talented teams here. I mean, I saw Michael Penix play when he was at Indiana, and he was incredible. I mean, he was so dynamic. He could run, he could throw, but he always got hurt, so I'm wondering if he's going to be able to keep it together. But look at it, Colorado. That's what we want to see is Coach Prime. I mean, I'm all in on Coach Prime. I'm hopeful that they're going to exceed expectations, because that could be that could change the way we perceive college football if Coach Prime is on the stage. But I go back to USC. Do you think Caleb Williams and the Trojans could compete for a national championship?
If their defense holds up, but I see nothing that allows me to believe in what Alex Grinch is running from a player personnel standpoint. They gave up 396 yards, 396 to San Jose State last weekend. What's going to happen when they start lining up against Michael Penix, an Oregon State's quarterback, and the dynamics of what UCLA does and what's around that conference? Bo Nix and the boys. That's the only thing that I think is going to betray them in terms of being a 12-0 team. Now that they make the playoffs, maybe on offense they can win the Pac-12, although Oregon's going to have a lot to say about that. But can they get to the championship game with this kind of defense? That to me is a huge question. And everybody thought that there had to be a change after last year's end of season setback and all the stats they gave up all year long. Caleb Williams kept bailing them out. No change was made.
Well, do you think now that they're blowing up the Pac-12 and UCLA and USC are going to the Big Ten, do you foresee the USC Notre Dame game continuing into the future? Because that's been a marquee game at the end of the year for a long time.
Yeah, I think there are some historic rivalries that they will try to hold on. I just wonder if anybody that's left is going to want to schedule USC. I mean, they're going to have, obviously, USC is going to have the Big Ten conference, but there are non-conference games. But if Oregon State, Washington State, they don't want anything to do with the Ducks or the Huskies, why would they want anything to do with the Bruins or the Trojans? Unless you're going to bring them in and be a hate game. But you're not going to be bringing them in all the time. You'd have to go there and play. And that's very interesting to see what the future, quote, non-conference schedules for the Trojans and the Bruins are going to be. Okay, let's